talked to us about a couple of years ago, and he got his first camera at 5 years of age. Not sure anybody can go earlier than that. And for 50 years, he built up his photographic experiences and turned it into a craft. And he's worked for a number of studios and eventually owns a couple of studios himself for several years. He's got he's seen many changes in the industry from film to digital, done his own printing, and he's also an educationalist, taught photography in both Invercargill and Timaru and polytechnics. And he, I think you call yourself a photographist. And without, oh yes, he's have got years of experience in corporate and editorial work, including wildlife, industrial subjects, portraits, which is a subject for tonight, and interiors, products and events. He's a very affable sort of guy. If you've got any questions, not just about portraiture, but any sort of photographic technical things, do ask him. He's a great guy to chat with about photography. And so thanks very much. Without further ado, there's a lot we can say about Craig, but I think it's probably best to get him to talk about portraiture, which is tonight's subject. Thank you.
Got this.
Oh, got that.
You can hear me? Oh, yes, you can.
Right.
Well, this will do in the meantime. Getting closer. All right. Thank you for having me. And this is my interpretation on portrait photography and portraits in general and things like that. But before I delve into that, I need to update my website because that's where Dennis got my bio from, and he very kindly made me, 55, and I'm not. I'm 65, so I need to add a decade. Currently, I'm in charge of technology for Takura, which is New Zealand's correspondence school. So I'm a teacher, and Takura has, well, last year we had 32,000 enrolments. So it's, by far the biggest school in the country. It's all delivered online, and my subject areas are photography, obviously, and technology. So I teach cooking, sewing, and making stuff via my nice warm office. It's awesome, and I could show you stuff on that. People don't know what we really do at Takura, but it's great. Right, so.
So you're a chef as well?
My cousin's a chef, but no, I do all the cooking in the house at home. Yeah. So let's have a wander through time. I thought, can't go forward without looking backwards. So the Kimberley people were pre-Aborigines, first people of Australia. They were drawing people, portraits, on the cave walls 50,000 years ago. Puts it into perspective all of a sudden, doesn't it? If we jump forward 40,000 years, we can pop into, eastern France, and they're drawing, animals and people on the walls there 40,000 years ago. Or we can pick on Tutankhamun's portrait death mask. That's a portrait. That's him. Or we can, look at his throne and we can see him and Mrs. Tutankhamun. But again, portrait. And that's a while ago. Don't quite remember that. We come forward a bit more to Pompeii, so at least we're on the right side of AD now. Looking like people now, not so stylistic, but still portraits. Whacking them on the wall. Middle Ages, they went a wee bit stylistic, but still doing the same thing. We all know this girl. queue for hours and hours and fight past thousands of people, and it's just a tiny little picture on a wall, but that's right. Pretty cool. Then in the 1600s, they started spreading them around a bit more, which was quite interesting. And they do these plumbagos, which were, just pencil drawings, portraits, still a one-off. So, we weren't making multiples. Don't have any of those in my collection. Enamels, they were little hand-painted on, porcelain and bits and pieces. I have a couple of those. And then in the 1820s, they started doing silhouettes. I was going to bring some things, but I thought, nah, some of these are a bit precious to bring. So, but they made multiples at this point, because once you had one paper cut out, you could put 3 pieces of paper together and cut it out, and you had 4. So it was easy. Then we all know this image, and we know the first people standing here on it. Is it a portrait? Is it a portrait of people in France? Or is it a street scene? Or is it the first recorded image of humans? Lots of things to consider. We're honking through time here. Well, we've got young Robert Cornelius. It's a selfie. It's the first selfie. It's the allegedly the first portrait of somebody in the States. He sat there for about 15 minutes to expose that. So, self-portraits are portraits. Or we look at, Mr. Fox's technique. At least we could make multiple ones of these with the paper neck, but you notice his eyes are closed. He was probably blinking. But again, he was, standing there for a while. This is the earliest daguerreotype I have in my collection. Why am I echoing now? That's quite echoey. You fiddled. That's better, yes. So this is around about 1860. It's quite old. You can tell by the clothing and the hairstyles, and also the casing. Then let's jump forward a bit. 1857, the first digital image. It's was a bit tight. The history of portraits, where they've come, loosely, a little bit of art history thrown in. But, I grew up in a photographic family. So there's lots of photos of me, and we've all had photographs of ourselves. Portraits happen all the time, all day, every day. So we'll just run through. So, here's me with my mum at 1. Yeah. Okay, and here's me at 3. At 6. At 15 with my sister. Here's me photographing myself at 17, very serious teenager.
Serious camera.
Oh no, that's better. Here's me at 21. Here's me as an engineer for telecom. It's me in my first studio. That was a friend took that just for the sake of it. We were mucking around. That's me out on a job, and Graham Sidney took that one. So, a photograph by a portrait artist, a painter, interesting. Here's me, at the age Dennis thinks I am. And there's me at Christmas time. And that's my Christmas present from my wife, so, that's pretty cool. So we're used to having photographs taken of ourselves all the time, and, portrait photography, it's about the personality of the person. We're trying to create a mix of lighting, atmosphere, to tell a story, to, express something. Yeah. So here's some of my portrait work over the years. So, yeah, just a typical studio shot of a camera collector I used to know. Or, yeah, I like watches too, so that was my horologist. So, environmental portrait. Tells a lot about, yeah, Greg, what he does, where he works, how he works. Tells many things. Also says he has great taste in photos, because that's one of mine. Yeah, that's my daughter. This is Martin in Oamaru. He's the robot man. He's an artist and he makes robots out of junk and cartoonist painter and things. He's a paraplegic cyclist. That was a promo shot. We all know this man. Street photography is, whoops, always fun. Go back. Street photography is always fun. Yeah, I have a tendency when I'm doing street photography to either shoot with very wide lenses or very long lenses. You can guess that's wide. My father-in-law, his 93rd year. Yeah, I've photographed a few weddings over the years. Yeah, they're portraits. That's what we all wind up doing. They're all very quiet. More street photography. Yeah, it's about being, you know, loud and confident, organising what you want, I suppose. You saw that man earlier, but this is him later in life. Yeah, photographed a few mayors and things like that. So tells a lot about Damon there. Yeah, he was mayor of Timaru. Yes, he was known for those shoes. He started a trend with some of the councillors. He was a one-term mayor. That tells you something too. Another horologist. And amongst his grubby workshop. I like doing environmental portraits. They're quite fun. He's a man, you know, he was third generation field tile maker, you know, the clay pipes. And he had a big kiln that they'd stack them in and fire them up, and then they'd go and bury them all over Southland.
How long ago was that?
It is closed now, the Pukarau Works. It's been closed for probably 5 or 6 years, but yeah. Mr. Davidson, he's an inventor in Timaru. Incredibly clever man. It's in his workshop in front of his lathe and all his bits and bobs around him, and he was working on, you know, dark energy for propellers. He, you know, his propeller designs could save, you know, about 60% of fuel usage in tankers. So there's still an enormous battle over his estate and who owns the tech. It's quite interesting. Yeah, do the occasional things. That's my daughter again. The shell I found in in the roof of a building in Invercargill, and it used to belong to Campbell's studio. Yeah,
Is it really that big?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she is sitting in there. Yes.
Oh, it's not like a Photoshop.
Oh no, no. And I do have in my collection some photos taken in the day in it. Yeah. So yeah, nothing's new. Yeah, that's a portrait of a musician. Happens to be one of my sons. We all know him in front of, yeah, the tower that's not there anymore. Hopefully, if our rates go up, we can have it all put back together, I heard the other day. Another wedding. And another wedding. All fun. So is it hard? You know, people paid me to take those photos. You know, I've taken a few portraits here and there over the years, and it's really about getting to know the people. It's the relationship that you form with those people, and then you mutually do it, and it makes more sense later on. But I think the bottom sentence sums it up. Nothing's impossible. You just got to give it some time. You got to give it effort. Got to have some passion, dedication, and practice. Just practice. It's so easy nowadays. Digital. I had to, go and spend all Saturday in the dark, processing film so I could do it. Nowadays you don't have to. You're very fortunate. So I thought we'd look at some iconic ones as well, because they're always good, and we'll look into them a bit more. We all know Steve's work, probably one of the most well-known portraits in the world. The Afghan girl. What makes it appealing? Is it her green eyes? Is it the softness of the light? Is it just the contrast of the colours? It's many things. But let's look at how he took it. And I'm a great believer we look at the catch lights in the eye. They will tell you what's going on. And we can see, what's that? What do you think it is? Yeah, it's a window or a scene. The light is coming in from outside. So if we look at here, we can look at her face. We can see she's got more light here than she has here. So the light's coming from this direction. Yeah? You can see the shadow around the nose. We can see it's nice and soft. It's not harsh. And that's part of the beauty of that. It gives it form. And you get these beautiful shadows and rolls and textures in the head wrap. But catch lights will tell you a lot about what's going on. And, I should have actually, I've just thought of it, I should have shown you the original uncropped shot, which is, has a lot more in it. He's cropped it in a bit, but it's all good. Let's pick on this one. Dorothy's one. Famous. She took about, I think it's about 9 shots to get this one. But which way is the light coming from? Remember, these people were living in a tent on the side of the Dust Bowl. The light is coming down this way. You can see the shadows under the nose, and you can see it's under the arms and drops. It's darker here than it is here. It's incredibly emotive because mum with her children and all these things, but if we just look at it as a portrait and try and dissect it, how it was lit and things like that, we can tell a lot about it. And also it's a crop of the original too. So, cropping in is okay. Cindy Sherman. Cindy made a very good career photographing herself. All she does is photograph herself over decades, and it's awesome. Which way's, where's the light coming from? It's coming this way, isn't it? Yeah, across her face. She is real lit, but that's not lighting her face. It's only lighting this bit. It's only rimming her fuzzy wig. The light is actually coming from here, and it's quite harsh because you see it drops into black a lot quicker here. Mr. Jobs. Albert shot. Where's it coming from? He's lit from here. That's why the side's in shadow. Have a look at the catch lights. We can see a nice big softbox just here. He had minutes to take this, because anyone know how incredibly difficult this man was to deal with or work with? He was given minutes to take this portrait, And Albert was awake enough to, you know, give him a wee problem to think of, grab the shot, doof. Yeah, he only got half a dozen shots, and that was it. And that was the one he wanted. So he planned and sorted it. Again, catch lights tell you how. Living pen, one of my heroes, and Salvador Dali, also a hero. Yeah, what has he done here? Where's the light coming from? Coming down. You can see it, you know, the darkness under here and the darkness under here. He was quite clever. He made these little stages. He either used V's or this one's a box. For his portraits, I was, you know, sounds funny, but we were in London for a while and we went to Paris for lunch because you can. And Tracy wanted to go somewhere, and I saw there was a Irving Penn exhibition on at one of the galleries on the way past. So we spent our afternoon in Paris instead of shopping for her, looking at photographs, which was fine. But they had his backgrounds and his camera there. He shot it on a Rolly 120 film, modest, but clever, eliminating everything from behind, any distraction, controlling the singular light source coming in from the front, and you know, just getting off the tush and taking a meter reading about here with his Western meter. Yeah, simple. Old Winston. It's a beautiful portrait, very traditional. And I type of stuck to some of these because they show you portrait technique and lighting together without getting carried away too much. Which way is it coming? Oops, overshot. Hi Liz, bye. Oops, going, stop. What's going wrong with my remote? Going back. Here we go. Yeah, it's coming from here basically, isn't it? Down here. And you can see the shadow here and the shadows under here. And an incredibly powerful, incredibly impatient man. But gave him something to do with his hands, something to hold on to. You know, you can see he's got papers in his pocket and he's got his cigars here. He's set to be Winston. And a bit of a light on the background. Oops. Yeah, a bit of a light on the background in here just to separate him from the dark paneling behind. So 2 lights, off, away you go. And that would have been just floodlights, not. And floodlights give you a harsher light, which you can see in the shadows. Not like we have the softboxes. And there is a kick of a highlight just there and there, which was a big red dot over his entire eyes. But yeah, you can see it, yeah. I did take it out, but it was just too small, and you know, these are stolen images off the net. Yeah, Elizabeth by Annie Leibovitz. You know, fairly obvious which way the light's coming, isn't it? But it's beautiful. It's elegant. It's many things, but you know, it's all on how she's sitting and the angle she's sitting. You know, there's quite strong light coming this way, and you can see it on her face. But we can see all her face. We can see exactly who she is, and we can see the opulence of the palace. But it's, you know, drifting into darkness, which is nice because obviously this window is, and you can tell it's about the same brightness, but it has been controlled a bit. They would have, you know, used these big shutters. You can see this one's closed more, just to put little shafts of light, so they were only lighting a slither across the room.
Unusual to see so dark around it, isn't it?
Yeah. One of my favourite images ever by Mr. Avedon. Yeah, not easy to, you know, get a couple of elephants to behave. Yeah, he was one of the best fashion photographers ever, but all those things. But it is beautiful. There's such elegance and power, but, you know, again, where's the light coming from? It's coming this way. See your shadow? Doof, 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 doof. Yeah, you can see the darkness through here, darkness through here. You've got the face turned, so it's getting the light. You know, there must have been big windows up here somewhere, or a door or something, so it's just washing across it. It is. It's absolutely beautiful. And here's Cindy in her early days again, out in New York somewhere. Yeah, fairly obvious where the light's coming from. Let's go back in time. Yeah, Julia Margaret Cameron. Yeah, she was kicking around with Mr. Talbot and things, but look where the light's coming from. This way. And look at that beautiful texture. It's type of coming down here because we're getting the ridges in his forehead. We're getting the wash over his cheeks, and it's, you know, this is darker than this side.
I thought that was her name, Julia. Sorry, I should make notes. Yeah, so that's the photographer.
Yep.
On that looked like a man.
Yeah, on paper negatives. Yeah, that's all right. On paper negatives. Yeah. You want to see true, beautiful Renaissance portraiture, I suppose. Yeah, look back.
What date are we looking at?
Is it? No, you're looking at 1867. Yeah, like she's a pioneer photographer. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. The control of the light. Because when we're talking about portrait lighting, we're talking about how we give form to whatever you're photographing. And if we're photographing an egg, we want it to light it so it looks like an egg. It has shape, it has roundness. You know, this here, we've got light just, you know, skidding round her face, showing her age lines and the texture of the hair, and, you know, across the hands. It's exquisite. And, you know, if you looked in the eye, you can see the big catchlight there. It's clearly coming from this side. Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, dead easy to do. You can do that at home. And it's about learning how to expose for what you're taking. You know, expose for this highlight. If your camera's got a spot metering in it, turn it on, focus just in here, take your reading just in there. You shouldn't use your cameras on automatic. They should all be on manual, and just get it in here, and then everything else will come. Whereas automatic, all your cameras on auto or aperture priority, you know, read this much of your image, average it, and that's why you get boring flat images. Experiment, manual. Cindy again, and that's an ugly, I don't know what happened there. Annie again, look at it. Doesn't that tell so much? Yeah, and we now know where the light's coming. You started to look, and you can see what's important and where it's coming from. That's a better one. Yep. One of my favourite photographs. I photographed my wife like that once. Replicated it. But yeah, 1864. It's a while ago. Yep. Well, she was leaning on something and sitting. Yeah. And not smiling. So.
Looking directly into.
Yeah. Yeah, the whites of her eyes look as though it's the plates being played with. They're a bit whiter than they should be. That's right. They did that. One of my favourite photographers. Ansel Adams called him the Antichrist of photography. William Mortensen, incredibly gifted photographer and printer. You know, he was kicking around with, you know, Adams and Steichen and Edwards and all those guys. They all knew each other. But William, he did a lot of, his book American Grotesque is really interesting. He photographed people with deformities, and he was very edgy in his work. Some of his nude portrait stuff is just beautiful, but then he'll have one of his models on a broomstick flying around an old building because he did multiple exposures and was a clever printer in the days too. But you know, active in the 30s. So if you,
The reason that Ansel Adams didn't like him was
yes, there was.
creative.
Yeah, he was very creative. It wasn't a, yeah, there was a mixture. It was a blur, but he did both. And they all got drunk together, and you know, probably something happened somewhere along the line. But yeah, really cool stories from those days. Mr. Beaton, another one of my favourite photographers. Yeah, isn't that just beautiful? Yeah, it's the epitome of fashion and elegance, and yep, that's a Chanel. Yeah, it's not clothes, it's wearable art. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. And Cecil was a great one for sets. He was a set builder.
Did you do at Royals?
Yep. Yeah. Did a lot of royal photography. Yep.
Princess Margaret.
Yeah. He did. He was a war correspondent for a while as well. He was pretty cool. Yeah, Mr. Litchfield, or Lord Litchfield. That sums it up. Yeah, I can remember, you know, I can tell you studio stories. One of them that always amuses me, Elmwood Studios in Invercargill was a very old studio when I was a lad down there. And Stewie, all the professional photographers, we used to go around each other's studios for meetings and things like that. And, you know, they'd sprinkle confetti on the floor before we got there, so they looked like they just had a wedding and they were busy and things like that. But he had a table with a cloth nappy on it that was stapled to the table. He had tacked this nappy onto the table so you could put the kid on it and then put the nappy on the kid, and the kid couldn't move because the nappy was nailed to the table. So trying to get that, yeah, that was clever enough. Yeah. So if somebody doesn't want to be photographed, you're not going to get it. And yeah, you've got to use that relationship to work with it to make it happen. That's one of Litchfield's, of Kate Bush. Yeah, I like the symmetry in that one. It's cool. A bit more. And that's one I took on Sunday. So yeah, see, I take portraits occasionally too. Yeah. And that is that. Got any questions? Question time. Should have done animals. Photographed lots of animals. Yeah. Yes, same thing. Again, not easy to photograph.
50%.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I had a friend who was a cat breeder, and I photographed lots of cats in Invercargill. Yeah. Horses and deers and somebody's favourite bull. I guess I've done all that, but yeah. Oh, come on, you must have some questions. Hello.
I have one question about poetry is more like instant capture, the moment, or is like this to, you require your people to cooperate?
Again, depends on what you're up to, doesn't it? Depends on what you're paid. From my point of view, it depends on what I'm paid to do. Some of my, it's like the Dalai Lama. The only reason I got that shot was because I was very naughty and went where I shouldn't have got, and that's, I was sliding along the floor not to be intrusive, and he found it amusing, and that's why he then turned and smiled at me, and I just got it but I was, yeah, everything else from that day was pretty much rubbish in the image lot, but that happened that way. So you're talking about a decisive moment, or capturing something straight away. Either way, yeah. Try and photograph your children. We've all tried that, and you get bums in the ears and arms across the face, and you name it, and occasionally you get a goodie. So yeah, it's about persistence and practice again.
What's your favourite?
Go.
What's your favourite? Your favourite portrait that you've taken? Who's the most?
Well, all the family ones.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, because he's not with us anymore. Nobody knew I'd taken that. So that was. Pardon?
Came up with this when you had it too.
Yeah, and they were quite impressed.
There's a lot to be said for capturing people, isn't there? And that.
Yeah. My daughter, I've got heaps of shots of my girls growing up and bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm very fortunate, or they are.
I did a photograph just in a family 60th birthday of the father was just always grumpy. But I saw him laughing and I thought, shoot, he's laughing. And I went back and took a photo and didn't think anything of it. And when he passed away, they saw this picture and it was the one that hit all the heartstrings. So you can't take enough chemistry
You can't.
of people. People change all the time.
Yeah. And we all do different things, and we live in different places and different jobs and many things. Yes.
Yourself personally, or like, do you have your own hobbies, like, or an agenda or a project that you're working on?
I like abstract, and I like natural history. Yeah. I've got a whole list of things I want to do, but between teaching grandchildren and everything else, there's not a lot of time. And photography is a wee bit selfish. It's very insular. So, but we'll get there. There's no rush. Hello.
Rule about eyes, but I've heard that usually there's the person looking at you, the contact.
Yeah, I'm not a rule follower. Yeah. I think with any portrait from, I was talking to a student today actually, and it was photos of her gown that she had made, and she only had one arm. The way she was standing, the other arm was tucked in behind, and to me, it looked like she only had one arm. I needed to see a bit of an elbow or something to give me that she's got two arms. Same with eyes. They don't need to look at you, but do we need to see them all? Oh, it's gone. But but we saw several portraits where they weren't looking at us. We saw some side profiles and they weren't looking at us. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. Do you actually want that or not? Yeah, but we saw the connection in those side profiles. Yeah, and that's the point. That's what you're trying to do, convey who that person is or something about them, and you don't need to have them staring down the barrel of your camera. Yeah. Dennis.
Do you have a process that you go through, or maybe a mental checklist, like model placement, the background, the light, the hand?
I quite possibly do, but it's pretty much all muscle memory now. I just do.
What would you, from your muscle memory, what would you look for?
Well, it depends on what I am doing. If I'd have to go through some of the images and dissect them a bit, because I'm controlling depth of field, I'm controlling how much environment I want in there or not, whether they're looking at me or not, or they're looking at each other, or there's lots of variables.
One of the wedding pictures
Yeah, and they are in the bottom corner down here. No one. What did I do? Because there was a hole in the door and I didn't want to see it. No, there's a soft focus filter on there. You know, this was film. This wasn't. This is pre-digital. Yeah, it's just all these lines. I was thinking, you know, horizontal lines wouldn't have looked good. I needed vertical lines. Yes, I could have shifted them this way a wee bit more, but maybe there was something behind them. I don't know. And I wanted them very much on the right-hand side because I wanted all this space as well. Yeah. And, you know, there could have been some crap that she didn't want to stand in here, or, you know, lots of bits and bobs.
Something I noticed, the one with the Queen next to the window as well, which is the same as this one as well, is that you've got a lot of that space on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Wasted space? Or?
Well, is it?
I mean, the eyes draws straight to the person.
Yeah, where's Liz? I like it because, you know, we're not, get past these people, we're not only photographing her, we're photographing her and her palace. Yeah, and it was interesting times. She had an interesting reign in the end of her reign, and, you know, we could, you know, throw some metaphors at it, and, you know, the darkness through the door of things disappearing, you know, we could get all arty and make stuff up about it. But yeah, it shows her and her environment, but it shows the elegance of the environment as well, I think, to me. And you may have a different interpretation. We all do. Photography is subjective. You know when it comes up to judging, and, you know, an image goes up and the judge likes it or doesn't like it, and yeah, you have opinions. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but that's the light reflecting from over here. Yeah, and it could have been retouched out or whatever, but yeah, that's an opinion, isn't it? Is the judge being paid as much as Annie Leibovitz is to photograph the Queen? Yeah, just asking. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Yeah. To be fair, that does bother me a bit too, but, you know. Yeah.
I hadn't even noticed it.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, that's one light, and these are reflections of this light and one back this way a bit in this big mirror. So, yeah.
But the other one's in the window.
That one. That one. Yeah, that's on this candelabra thing that's just behind her.
She's not directly underneath them.
No. No, she's in front of them. They're well behind her. And they're not even on. None of these lights are on. Yeah.
I like the dark.
Yeah.
I want to see the environment, you know, it's heavy.
It's controversial. Excellent. Love it. Might have been why I picked it. Everyone's got an opinion on the Queen. Yeah. Yeah. He's in a dodgy corner down here somewhere. Yeah.
light on the left-hand eye, would be distracting on in one sense, but also leave the eye, take it from the right to the left. Otherwise, if you crop out that mirror, the eye don't really travel beyond.
No, you actually track to it. You go from the lighter area through the dark to a wee bit more light, so you're actually tracking through the room. It's quite clever. Hello.
I'm just wondering, we've got a portrait competition coming up.
Yep.
And was that you need to crop it and so that it's more about the person? But you've actually put a lot of different things out. So if you put like an portrait,
Yep.
would be fine.
Yep.
Are you judging our portraits?
I can't answer that.
Ah.
No, I am not. Yes. Hello.
The other environmental, not that one, just one of mine. I might have been one of your ones.
Yes.
All right, I'll go back. There's another shot and he's in front of his desk, leaning on it, holding a robot. But I like that one because I like the environment.
He's leaning on a robot.
No, he's leaning on his desk, sitting half pie, sitting on it, holding a robot. Because he makes these, that's a robot there with out of bits. And you see its legs and its arms, and here's another one up here made out of pigs. Pardon?
Are you push bike?
Yep, that's what he came to work on. Yeah.
Mostly handheld or tripod or
That's handheld. Yeah.
most of the imagery?
No, most of it tripoded, but that was handheld. Yeah. My latest camera is very good for handheld, so that's lovely. I'm just looking for one of those environmental. Oh, yeah, that was back earlier this way, I think. Greg.
He looks like a cat.
He's a rat bag. Yeah.
Oozing it.
Yeah. Very clever, very witty man. Yeah, he is. No, that was probably a while ago. It's probably 15 years ago, but he's retired now.
Someone's asked online about when you're doing street photography, how do you approach people?
I usually walk up and talk to them. Yeah, you got to be bold, and that's one of the hardest things. It's about, if you see somebody you want to photograph, I have cards, so it's easier, and I say, I can introduce myself as a photographer, which is easier, but, I'd like to, photography, would it be all right? And you get plenty of no's, and you get some yeses, so, yeah.
Are there any portraiture that you feel is better portrayed in black and white?
I like black and white because, that's where I began many years ago. It really depends on, because the one of Martin and as the robot man, I like the black and white version of it more than I like the colour version because the colour one's a wee bit mucky, visually mucky. It's just too much. Yeah. Whereas black and white will have a tendency to, not overstimulate you, so to speak. Depends on what you're showing. If you're just trying to show tones and textures and form, black and white is possibly better because you can get richness of tone and graduations of tone and that, but you can do that with colour as well, so personal preference, Dennis. Sorry?
Like Walker.
Yeah. I've done some. My son-in-law's Maori, and we have some pretty cool images There you go, yeah. Yes.
Have you got any chats that are not getting reflection in glasses?
Aha, good one. What I used to do, and you just get them to lift, so the armatures of the glasses at the back, just get them to lift them up, so the glasses still look normal. But now, you're not going to get flashback. It's just that much. And you just get them to lift it, just a sniff. Good question. Trade secret. Gone. Yeah. When I used to do weddings with people that wore glasses, I'd always get them to have another pair, so I didn't have to do that all the time, with no glass in them. But when I'm photographing, people generally, I just get them to tilt them. Yeah. Can't tell.
And to make women look really good.
We turn them never square on. Even big boys like me, I don't like being photographed like this. I'll always turn like that. And all of a sudden, I'm only half the man I was here. And I hate seeing photographs with people with their feet like this. It's like they should be wearing gumboots or something. Just get them to turn, weight on the back foot, to the front one, and then they just narrow up, and it's easy. And if you're only photographing from here, away you go. You've had more than your share of questions. Go on. Go, Dennis. Oh, yeah. Margaret. No, Dorothy, sorry. Yeah. Goodness, what a lot of rubbish.
Can we stop on that one for a minute? That one there. Like in the foreground, it's a lovely environment with portrait.
Yep.
You did entertain the idea of trying to get an angle without that.
No, because this is his lathe, which is integral to him, but I didn't, lathes are big, ugly, nasty machines. Yeah, he is an engineer, so it's a tool of the trade. Yeah. Yeah, there's enough of, you can see the tailgate there. There's bits of it around, and, bits of big bands and belts everywhere, but yeah. And also, it's where he wanted to be. And he was, 2/3 blind, so wherever he wanted to be in his workshop was good for me. And that's where I like the light, because you can see the light's coming down this way. And if I moved him further forward, he was out of it. There was just a little skylight that I had to work with. Sorry?
I didn't click the driver's tape from America.
Yeah. Through these again. Oops, overshot, that one.
I'm just wondering whether the picture would give a different sense if the two children are either looking towards her on the side or looking towards the camera.
Yeah, I suggest that you go and Google the shot and Google the contact sheet that this came from, which will give you lots of variants of it. But there's shame and enormous sadness and all sorts of things, and that's one of the reasons why I think the kids aren't showing.
Is it taken in the 30s?
Yes.
From the dust bubble.
Yes, correct. Yeah, enormous shame. Yep. But when you look at the contact sheet with the 9 shots on it, this is by far the better one, or crop component of it. Anything else? Well, you're all bust.
No, today, digital, do you try and make every shot count, or is it take half a dozen, 100?
Well, I was attended a wedding recently for a family friend who their daughter got married, and I was talking to the photographers, and she said I take on average between 4,000 and 5,000 photographs, her and her partner, for a wedding. Yeah, well, that type of said it all to me, and also charges them $10,000 for that privilege. Whereas when I used to do weddings, I would shoot probably 10 to 12 rolls of 120 film, so 12 shots, so 120, 150 photographs tops. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I shot 35mm for the formals, for the candids before, so that was just all the portrait shots afterwards.
Can a movement be a portrait?
If you look at Man Ray's portrait of a woman leaning on a ornament carving thing, he emulates that, and then there's a shot of just the carving. Why not? What's a bust? A bust of a person. What's that? That's a portrait. That's what Caesar had. He had paintings of themselves, or he had bust, knocked out a marble of himself. That's a portrait. Nothing else, guys? Yes.
Is there any time to use flash? Camera or
I use a little bit of flash for fill. Yeah. Just occasionally, people with, big brows, hats and things like that. I just need to get a wee bit of light in. Yeah. Or if I'm shooting it into the light, I'll just even it out a bit that way. But yeah, that's a different thing to do and figure out. Yeah. I normally cart a reflector. Well, I do always cart a reflector around in my car, just the big exploding things that you fold out, and you can just kick a bit of light in where you need it. Everything from bugs to people, I do that, or cars. If want to highlight on a car or something, you can do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, what we got for Craig is a big round of applause, please. And
Thank you
a
very
little
much.
something from the club.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Not
much. Well
necessary.
done. Lovely to see all your images and everybody else's and get some learning. So that was really
Well,
creative. Thank you.
Anytime. Don't be shy.
No, I'm not. So that concludes tonight's program, everybody. So is there any more news or anything that anybody wants to bring up? Yes. Oh, yes. Please collect your cards if you're new from the desk outside. So if you haven't got one of our cards with your name on it there and you are new, go and see your name on the front. Yes. Okay, so showcase is to be put your images into the showcase for this, and Dennis will talk to it.
Right, there's a few showcases. Number one, for those who's going to the classic cars this weekend, I'll create a showcase, classic cars showcase, for about up to 4 images. And they'll be open from about tomorrow, even the event's Wednesday. And for next week, we've got 3 showcases open. The first one is the showcase open number 2, where you can submit tonight's pictures, plus any other pictures that you want. There's a showcase film noir, as well as a showcase The Passage of Time. So they're all going to be shown next week. And the walkabout showcase will be open on the day of the walk as well. So, thank you.
Okay, we'll stack these chairs and get ourselves home safely. Thanks very much, everybody. Good night.